días. Vamos a empezar el repaso de Unidad 4. Just a reminder, yesterday we reviewed Unit 3, which is also on the final exam, and all of that is on the previous video you can find on our website. Vamos a empezar con Unidad 4. Tenemos aquí el verbo de ir. También tenemos las invitaciones. We use the verb ir in this unit to express where we're going and what we're going to do. It really was nice because we were able to talk about the future a little bit more and our plans. También las invitaciones. The second big part of this was inviting people to do things, and especially to play sports with us, and talking about if we know how to play sports, and coming up with excuses if we can't make it, and finding out more information if we needed to. Como los interrogativos, those question words. So there was a lot in this unit, but you did wonderfully. Vamos a empezar con los lugares y las actividades. Lugares, it means places. And we had several different places that we focused on. These are just a few of them, 8 of them. You want to press pause now and try it out. Do you know your vocabulary? Do you know your places and your activities? Make sure that you consider for the places that they are nouns. And therefore, there should be an article with each one, el or la. Press pause now and try it out. All right. Notice the ones I've written in blue are masculine. They have the article el before them as well. All 3 of the ones that I've chosen end with something different than an O. Remember, we have to memorize the gender of those things that don't end with an O or an A. Also, notice here that comercial only has 1 M. There is not a double consonant in that word. The next part we have are our activities, los infinitivos. We covered infinitives yesterday. Remember, infinitives in English are made up of 2 words, like to want, to have, to prefer. Why don't you check yourself right now, remembering that each one of these ends either with an AR, an ER, or an IR. Press pause and try numbers 1 through 19. Okay. So we start with querer, tener, preferir, levantar, jugar, poder, hacer, trabajar, estudiar, ver la tele, ir de compras, ir de pesca, pescar, ir de camping, acampar, nadar, leer, and ver una película. All of those with a little black mark next to them are examples of irregular verbs. Querer, tener, preferir, poder, and jugar on the left-hand side. Those are all stem-changing verbs where we add in a letter that had not been there before. We focused a lot on the verb ir. The verb ir means to go, right? Remember that verbs don't have gender, okay? So when we think of this, we don't use a different form of a verb for a boy or a girl. However, we do have our subject pronouns that we went over yesterday that we need to make sure matches. So our subject for yo and our verb that would match would be voy, yo voy. Tu vas, él, ella, usted va, nosotros vamos, ellos, ellas, ustedes van. Now this is completely irregular, right? We take away the ear and there's nothing left, and so those were just created completely irregular forms. We have to memorize those. Yo voy, tu vas, él va, nosotros vamos, ellos van. So we use this in order to communicate where we're going and what we're going to do. So the first example in English is, where are you going to today? So I'm thinking about a place. Where do you go to today, or where are you going to today? I'm going to the theater, or I go to the theater. In Spanish, this looks like, ¿a dónde vas hoy? Where are you going to today? Or the long version, ¿a dónde vas tú hoy? And then I have my response, voy al cine, or my long response, yo voy al cine. My second example down here is one where I'm not asking about a place, where are you going to, but rather an activity. What are you going to do? What are you going to do tomorrow? I'm going to study, okay? So here my question has a very similar format. ¿Qué vas a hacer mañana? ¿Qué vas a hacer mañana? Remember the H is silent, so it's very hard to hear the separation between those words, but they're there in writing. ¿Qué vas a hacer mañana? Or ¿qué vas tú a hacer mañana? Yo voy a estudiar. Or our short version, voy a estudiar. Okay. We had a particular sentence structure that we needed to use when talking about going to a place. We notice our form of ear that we just reviewed, and then we have what is called a contraction here. So we have al, or we have ala, and a place that comes afterwards. Now, if I have a feminine place that's going to come afterwards, I see to and the as two separate words. A meaning to, and la meaning the. To the park, for example, or to the library. Al over here is a contraction. It's two words combined. If there's a masculine place coming afterwards, like el cine, I'm going to take the a from to, and then the L from the word L, E-L, and I'm going to combine those together to create one contraction of al. So I go to school each day. School is a feminine place, so I'm going to use the second contraction, and my response is going to look like this. Yo voy a la escuela cada día. Okay, I've used the yo form of the verb ir. I have a to mean to, so I'm going to school each day. Okay, or I go to school each day. Why don't you press pause right now, use your forms of ir from the last slide, and try the following 6 sentences. All right, so why don't we check our work and see if you've got this. You go to church on Sundays. Tu vas a la iglesia los domingos. La iglesia is feminine, so we see the separation between a, la. Something else to remember if we're talking about Sundays and not this Sunday or on Sunday, but it's plural, we communicate that by using the word los before the day of the week, los domingos. And we add an S to domingos because it ends with a vowel. For cases like Mondays, that ends with an S naturally, we simply put the los before the lunes, and that means Mondays as opposed to Monday. The next one, nosotros vamos a la playa. Again, we have a feminine place. And we're talking about what we do here to swim or in order to swim. Here's that construction where we use para. Nosotros vamos a la playa para nadar. The second one, yo voy al parque para correr, uses that same one. And the third is the same as the fourth is the same as the second. It's only a difference in subject. Notice when I am talking about somebody else, I have to change again. El va from nosotros vamos. Number 5, usted va a la casa a las 5. The F right here indicates it's formal, meaning I should use that formal register we discussed yesterday, which is usted versus to. At 5 o'clock, we see this little word that means to. So that a is a powerful one-letter word. It means both to in this sentence, and it means at in this sentence. The last one, they go to the mall to go shopping. Ellos van al centro comercial para ir de compras. Again, we use para to communicate in order to go shopping. It is for our fluency. If we are going to do something, that is a very similar sentence structure. You notice that we still use a form of ir. So voy, vas, va, vamos, van. We still use the word to, I am going to, and then we have an infinitive that comes afterwards. And again, we reviewed those yesterday. They end with AR, ER, or IR, right? So there is no al or ala inside of these sentence structures because L and la are articles, they mean the word the. They're only used with nouns. So when we have a place at the end like el parque, the park, that's a noun. But when I use an infinitive, I don't have an article. Let me show you this construction. I'm going to study tonight. So yo voy, again, still using that verb ir, to, yo voy a, and then I need the infinitive for to study, estudiar, so make sure it has its infinitive ending on it, and esta noche would be this evening or tonight. Yo voy a estudiar esta noche. Why don't you try 1 through 10 now, pause, and start. Okay, so let's look at the answers here, and you want to check your work. So we see Max is going to do exercise this afternoon. Max va a hacer ejercicio esta tarde meaning this afternoon. Okay, now we notice that the infinitive here is hacer. The second one, my family and I are going to eat at the restaurant. Mi familia y yo vamos a comer en el restaurante. I couldn't finish that last part on there. We see that the infinitive, though, is this word comer. She isn't going to run in the park. Ella no va a correr en el parque. En is used for the word in or on. It is used for at as well. I'm not going to sing. Yo no voy a cantar. I'm not going to sing. We are going to share our lunch. Nosotros vamos a compartir nuestro almuerzo, our lunch. Now, because almuerzo is masculine, I use the masculine form of our, nuestro. If I had said dinner, which is cena, it would have been nuestra cena. You all are going to watch a movie, ustedes. Remembering that second person, I'm looking at a group of more than one person, and I'm talking directly to them. Ustedes van a ver una película. There being the verb. I'm going to fish. Yo voy a pescar. That could have also been written, yo voy a ir de pesca. Alex and Max are going to dance at the party. Alex y Max van a bailar en la fiesta. And lastly, you with an I, meaning informal, are going to drink milk. Tu vas a beber leche. Beber being the verb that I would be using here. Whoa, there we go. Beber. Okay? Oh, and I missed number 9. I am going to go to the theater, which is an important one. I am going to go. So I'm seeing ir being used here. Yo voy a ir, and the same use of al or ala needs to be used because now I have a place coming afterwards. Yo voy a ir al cine. I am going to go to the theater, which is a little different than just yo voy al cine, which is I'm going to the theater. I go to the theater or I'm going to go. Okay, so it's a little different there. We went over yesterday how we used questions, general and specific ones, all year long, right? Las preguntas generales y las preguntas específicas. We talked about the construction, remembering that there are 2 different punctuation marks, right, in each question. And we also talked about how there are interrogatives that are used in our general questions. Where, for example, where are you going to? So I'm talking about destination, would use the interrogative a donde. Versus what? What are you going to do this weekend? It's going to use the interrogative K. With whom, or who are you going with? Kind of butcher that in English. Con quien, with whom, are going to be my interrogatives. Why don't you press pause and try these 3 questions? Okay, so where are you going to after school? ¿Dónde vas después de escuela? Remember, if I wanted to include the 2, or if I was talking about somebody else, that'd be really important, like ¿Dónde va tu mamá? I need to add the tu mamá in there for sure. You put that after the verb in the question, okay? So ¿Dónde vas después de escuela? Or ¿Dónde vas tú después de escuela? Where are you going to? ¿Qué vas a hacer este fin de semana? What are you going to do this weekend? ¿Qué vas a hacer? We're using ir plus a and infinitive. Remember, we can't really hear the difference between these 2 because it rolls together. ¿Qué vas a hacer este fin de semana? Este meaning this, right? Also, esta means this. They both do, but fin de semana is masculine, so we use that masculine form of this. ¿Qué vas a hacer este fin de semana? With whom are you going to the mall? ¿Con quién vas al centro comercial? With whom are you going to the mall? And I see my construction of al in there because centro comercial is masculine. Now, las preguntas específicas, these we are not going to use a dónde, qué, con quién, cuántos, any of those interrogatives. Are you going to study for the test? Is your mom going to go to work? Is your mom going to work? Or does your family go to the beach on Sundays? Remember that we aren't using the does in here. We don't use hacer for this, so it is implied. Why don't you try these specific questions? Press pause and then check your... Okay, are you going to study for the test? ¿Vas a estudiar para el examen? So here we use our ir plus a plus an infinitive. Are you going to study for the test? Is your mom going to work? Va tu mamá? So again, remember the tu mamá comes after the va. Va tu mamá al trabajo? Here we are using the ir plus al plus el trabajo, right? And we combine the a and the el to create al. Does your family go to the beach on Sundays? ¿Va tu familia a la playa los domingos? Again, we're using ir plus a plus a place. Remember that tu familia, family, is considered singular. Like my family is going. We don't say my family are going, my family is going. So we use this singular form, va, as opposed to van, where we would have with van tus amigos, van sus padres. We would use that for plural. We also learned about sports in this unit, especially when we got to inviting people to do things with us. You know, a lot of us are very active outside of school. And so we were talking about sports. And one of the key words in this unit was jugar, which is a stem changing verb. We've had it since the beginning of the year, like me gusta jugar videojuegos. We also tried in the third unit to use it with our salud, and we talk about los hábitos and say something like yo jugo, and we'd all get corrected saying, no, that means I juice. It does not mean I play. This, again, as a stem changer, adds in a letter. So here we see that the forms of this are yo juego, tú juegas, usted juega, nosotros jugamos. Remembering that stem changers stay regular with the regular stem in the nosotros form, and ellos and ustedes juegan. Okay. Now, we use this verb, jugar, and its forms in order to talk about sports. Why didn't you press pause right now and test your spelling of these sports? Well, they all sound a lot alike, porque son cognados, they're all cognates. They look differently, okay? Notice the different spellings, you guys. El tenis only has one N. El basketball could be also said as el baloncesto. El football is probably the most difficult to remember, meaning it's soccer. If we're talking about football like we know it in America, we use el fútbol americano. So el basketball, el baloncesto, el tenis, el voleibol, el fútbol americano, el fútbol, el golf, or el béisbol. Okay? And again, we are using this verb jugar and its forms, okay, in order to communicate to play. And that is a stem changer, like we mentioned, just like querer and preferir we went over yesterday. Now, the one thing we do have to remember is that we use that contraction al again in this structure. So when I'm talking about the sentence structure with jugar, I'm going to make sure that I use a form of jugar. I could have the infinitive, like me gusta, right? Me gusta jugar al tenis. I like to play tennis. Or I can conjugate it and simply say, yo juego al tenis. I play tennis. It depends on what I want to say. You've got 4 here to practice. Press pause and try them out. Okay, so our first example, I play golf. Yo juego al golf. I'm conjugating jugar for myself. I know who's doing it. I am doing it. Yo juego al golf. I like to play soccer is a little different. I'm going to keep jugar infinitive because the first verb, I like, gustar, is conjugated, me gusta, and my second can't be. Remember those 2 pairs of verbs together. Me gusta jugar al fútbol. Number 3, we play tennis. Jugamos al tenis. This could also be nosotros jugamos al tenis. We don't have to use our pronouns. Remember that. We already know jugamos is the only form we would use with nosotros, so it is implied. He is going to play volleyball. Él va a jugar al voleibol. Here we're using our ir plus a plus an infinitive, jugar being the infinitive in the sentence. He is going to play volleyball. Okay. Now, one of the really big goals that we had in this unit was to invite others to do something or to go somewhere with us. So using everything that we've covered so far, we then used 3 particular new and old verbs to accomplish this goal. The first one we used was querer, which means to want. We had that in the 3rd unit. Yo quiero Taco Bell was one of the jokes that I would say at the beginning from the commercial, but it's true. I want Taco Bell, or yo quiero un sandwich. I want a sandwich for lunch. We're using this now in this unit as well. We were using it to invite by saying, do you want? Do you want to go to the mall with me? Or do you want to play soccer with me after school? We could also use the verb poder. This was a new one. To be able to, or can. Can you go to the store? Can you play soccer? Well, can you play soccer tomorrow? And then we used gustaría, which was new, but it follows all the rules of gustar and encantar. So it was pretty easy for you guys to use, just as you remembered that we need to make sure to use me, te, le, nos, lace, right? Instead of yo and tu. That's more important, but it was pretty easy for you guys. And we used it in the question, would you like? Would you like to go to the mall? Would you like to go to the store? Would you like to play tennis this summer with me? Okay? So querer we conjugated yesterday. You can see your Unit 3 notes. Poder is the only one that we need to conjugate now. Press pause and try it, remembering it is a stem-changing verb. Okay, so I can or I'm able to. Yo puedo. Our other forms are tú puedes, él, ella, usted puede, nosotros podemos, and ellos, ustedes pueden. Here's a few invitations using either querer, poder, or gustaría. Try them out. Press pause. All right, so our first one, do you want to run in the park with me? This was using our verb querer, to want, and we conjugate it for you. Do you want, quieres, to run, correr, in the park, en el parque. With me, I didn't have space for, but we know that is that word, conmigo. ¿Quieres correr en el parque conmigo? The second one, can you study in the library today, uses poder. ¿Puedes estudiar en la biblioteca hoy? Hoy for today. Would you like to go to the mall? This used gustaría. ¿Te gustaría ir al centro comercial? 4. Does your mom want to go to the theater with us? ¿Quiere ir tu mamá al cine con nosotros? Does your mom want? Quiere ir. I had to use the el ella form of that because tu mamá would be replaced with she. Does she want to go with us? Number 5. Would your friend like to dance with me? ¿Le gustaría bailar a tu amigo? Conmigo. Or it would be ¿le gustaría bailar a tu amiga? Conmigo. And that would depend if your friend you're asking about is a boy or a girl. Number 6, Mom, can I go to the dance? Please, por favor. Would be, Mamá, ¿puedo ir al baile? I'm using the yo form. Can I go? ¿Puedo ir al baile? Now, something that was big, we needed to find out more information. Can I accept your invitation? Do I have to decline your invitation? I don't know because I had to ask you more questions oftentimes. And so we used our who, what, when, where, why, and those are called interrogatives, question mark. Interrogatives, interrogativos. There we go. Now, just how well you know those. We've got 12 of them here. I want you to press pause and try them out, remembering that each one has an accent mark. Vamos a ver. Aquí tenemos los interrogativos diferentes. So notice again that all of these I put a question mark beforehand because they would all be used in questions. And then notice as well that every one of them has an accent mark. And we know a lot of these words mean something different without it. For example, como means like. There are many sports that are my favorite, like football and basketball. Or it means I eat in a sentence. Yo como el desayuno. We also have que, cuando, con quién, con qué frecuencia, donde, a donde, de donde, cuál, and por qué. The only one that has a masculine and a feminine version, and I should change it right here, would be cuantos and cuantas. Otherwise, there are no genders associated with any of these question words. So if somebody asked me to go to the mall, you know, ¿quieres ir al centro comercial conmigo? I might have to ask, well, when? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo vamos a ir? When are we going to go? Or ¿por qué? Maybe I don't really like it, but I really like my friend. So I would say, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué quieres ir al centro comercial? Why do you want to go there? And if there's a really good reason, maybe I'll be in. Okay? Now, one of the ways that we expressed that we wanted to do something, or we made an excuse for declining to not do something, was based on our feelings. And so we went back to what we knew with the star. So yesterday we talked a lot about ser, and that verb, ser, meaning to be, yo soy, tú eres, you know, él es, nosotros somos, ellos son, is not what we're going to use because ser is permanent. We want to talk about our feelings, and feelings change. They're temporary, right? One minute I could be happy, another minute I could be sad. And so we're going to see that we are using the other verb that means to be, which is estar. So press pause, see if you've got your forms correct, and then turn it back on. Okay, so here we see we've got all of these different verb forms. Yo estoy, tú estás, él, ella, usted está, nosotros estamos, ellos, ustedes están. Remember that this verb is used for temporary stuff. We used it in our second unit. We used it when we talked about where things were in the classroom. ¿Dónde está la cesta de la basura? Está al lado del escritorio. Because, again, the garbage can could change. And it's temporary. I could move that garbage can. We're going to use it again with los sentimientos, our feelings. I've got 11 feelings right here. I want you to try out which ones you know. Okay, so here we've got our feelings. I put the ones in green that are gender neutral. For example, well and poorly and sad and happy, bien, mal, triste, and feliz. Those we'll use whether we're a boy or a girl. However, if we're talking about ourselves and we're a girl, we're talking about females, we're going to make sure to use the feminine form of all those in blue. I see this little one right here, this little A I put that at symbol to show again that that could change and be emocionada, or nervous could be nerviosa, right? Cansada, enferma, enojada, ocupada, contenta, as I would use being a female. Guys are going to use the masculine form, or if we're talking about guys, we will describe them with this. So we would say, él está emocionado. He is excited, right? Or ella está nerviosa. She is nervous. We'll change those endings. For the gender of the person, we're talking about their feeling. Sometimes we need to make an excuse because we have a prior obligation. We have to do something. We have to go to work. We have to go to school. We have to go on a vacation with our family. We're going to see that we're going to use a stem changing verb that we've had all year. Tener. We are going to use K in between as a transition, and we are going to use an infinitive verb afterwards to talk about we have to do something in particular. Okay, so this verb, tener, again, we've had it a long time. It's a stem changer, so we've used it for like, yo tengo la clase de español en la primera hora. I have it, Spanish class in first block. We used it at the beginning of the year. In our food unit, we used it with hunger. Yo tengo hambre. Tienes sed. I have hunger. Are you thirsty? Right? I'm hungry, or are you thirsty? We used it for all of those. Press pause and try out your forms. All right, so we have yo tengo, tú tienes, él tiene, nosotros tenemos, ellos tienen. We're going to use this now, like I said, with this K in between, and then afterwards an infinitive verb. So some common ones we have here: to study, to work, to sleep, to eat, to go to church. You can press pause if you'd like. I'm going to start writing. To study, estudiar. To work, trabajar. To sleep, dormir. To eat, comer. To go to church, ir a la iglesia. Okay, we've got 3 different examples here that you're going to practice. I have to work this morning, he has to eat with his family, and we have to go to Florida. Press pause and try it out. Okay, so I have to work this morning is yo tengo que trabajar esta mañana. He has to work with his family, or I'm sorry, he has to eat with his family. Él tiene que comer con su familia. Su meaning his family versus my family, mi familia, or your family, tu familia. We have to go to Florida. Nosotros tenemos que ir a Florida. So here I'm saying we have to go to a particular place, or we have to do something. So we're not going to be able to do those plans with you. Or perhaps it's because I don't know how to do something. I've been invited to go play baseball, or I've been invited to go join a volleyball game, but I don't know how to do it. I'm going to use this new verb that was introduced this unit, saber. Now, that's a regular like hacer, only in the yo form. So we see instead of using yo sabo, which would be us taking the sab part of saber and adding an O to it, we use yo say. So yo say would be in a regular form. Everything else, though, is the same as a regular ER verb. Try it out. So I see my regular forms, using my regular ER endings. This was a good check for understanding if you understood that conjugation from yesterday. Saber becomes yo sé, tú sabes, él, ella, usted sabe, nosotros sabemos, or ellas, ustedes saben. Now we're going to use saber with an action to say, you know, I know how to play football, or I don't know how to speak Japanese. The how is implied though, so we're not going to use a special word like como in there. I'll show you an example. I don't know how to play baseball. Yo no sé, remember the how I'm not going to include. Yo no sé jugar al béisbol. Yo no sé jugar al béisbol. I don't know how to play baseball. You don't know how to skateboard. And again, the how is just implied.
Mr. Kurusa, contact the office, please.
Tú no sabes montar en monopatín. You don't know how, the how implied, to skateboard. We've got 3 more down below, or 4 more. Why don't you try it out? So for these sentences, we see we've got 4 different examples. I don't know how to play football. Yo no sé jugar al fútbol americano. We don't know how to study. No sabemos estudiar. He knows how to play tennis well. Él sabe jugar al tenis muy bien. And I know how to sing, but I don't sing well. Yo sé cantar, pero no canto bien. The canto is conjugated for I don't sing. I'm not saying I don't know how at the end. I'm saying I actually don't sing well. Okay, we're going to try a couple invitations. So you'll see here, I've got 2 different people, a y b, persona a y b. Do you want to play tennis with me? I would like to, but I don't know how. Or I'm sorry, let's go over here. But I don't know. Where do you want to go play? I want to go to Wilson Park. Oh, I like that park. I'm excited. Yes, I can go. Great. Why don't you try it out? Press pause and write this A-B conversation. All right, so this invitation, you guys, would sound like this. ¿Quieres jugar al tenis conmigo? Me gustaría, pero no sé. ¿Dónde quieres jugar? Yo quiero ir al parque de Wilson. Pues, me gusta este parque. Sí, puedo ir. Genial. So do you want, I'm going to use my querer verb, right? Quieres, to play. So I need to remember that I'm going to use what I know about jugar al tenis, using that construction. And then with me, some extra words in there. Me gustaría, I would like to, pero no sé, but I don't know. ¿Dónde quieres ir? Where do you want to play? Remember, I have 2 verbs back to back, and so I need to conjugate the first one and leave the second infinitive. Yo quiero ir al parque de Wilson. I want to go. Then another example of that. One verb conjugated, the next one not. Yo quiero ir al parque de Wilson. What we learned yesterday, nouns modifying nouns, Wilson and parque will use this construction, as well as possession. Remember, we've talked about that before, like Jose's book. We don't use apostrophe S there. We would say el libro de Jose. Me gusta este parque. I like that park, or this park, okay? Sí, puedo ir. I can go. Genial. Conversación número 2. Let's try this one. So we see we have a guy and a girl. We have the guy asking, would you like to go to a concert with me? And the girl asking several questions before she gives him an answer. Her first one is, where's the concert? He responds with, it is in Chicago. Who are we going with? We're going with my family. When is it? It's on Saturday. Sorry, I'm busy. Okay? Okay, so we see this conversation, and it starts with, ¿Te gustaría ir a un concierto conmigo? Would you like to go to a concert with me? She responds back with the question, ¿Dónde está el concierto? Where is the concert? It says, está en Chicago. It's in Chicago. Who are we going with? ¿Con quién vamos? We're going with my family. Vamos con mi familia. When is it? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo es el concierto? It is this Saturday. Este sábado. These are short answers. That's natural for how we would actually speak, right? Or we could say, es el sábado. Es este sábado. Sorry, I'm busy. Lo siento, estoy ocupada. She, in the end, declines the invitation. And why? Because she's too busy to do it. Estoy ocupada, using that verb, estar. It's temporary. She's busy now, but maybe if you ask her next week, she might be able to go. The next one we have up, you guys, is, do you know how to play golf? This guy does not look like he knows how to play golf very well. So the conversation is, do you know how to play golf? No, I don't know, because I don't know how to play golf because I never play. What do you know how to play? I know how to play soccer really well. Can you play soccer with me this afternoon? At what time? I want to go to the park at 2 o'clock. I'm sorry, but I have to work at 2. Do you want to go at 4 o'clock? So try this one out. Okay, we'll try to say this conversation with 2 different voices. So the woman starts with, ¿Sabes jugar al golf? No, no sé jugar al golf porque nunca juego. ¿Qué sabes jugar? Yo sé jugar al fútbol muy bien. ¿Puedes jugar al fútbol conmigo esta tarde? ¿A qué hora? Quiero ir al parque a las 2. Lo siento, pero tengo que trabajar a las 2. ¿Quieres ir a las 4? No sé. So in the end, we don't know whether or not she's going to be able to go at this time, but this invitation started with her wanting to know about whether he knew how to play golf, because it didn't look like he was so good at it. So invitations can take many different forms. You want to make sure that you understand how to extend an invitation in multiple different ways so that you can ask your partner in your conversation, whether you use quieres or te gustaría, or if you use puedes, does not matter. You also want to make sure you can ask extra questions.
Mr. Kubicek, please contact the office.
Con quién and a qué hora and a dónde vamos or dónde está. You want to ask all different kinds of questions to get more information to make sure that you are able to accept or decline properly. And then when you accept or decline, we give reasons, right? Don't want to be rude. So if we can't do something, we commonly don't say no and walk away. We want to make sure we give somebody a reason. Lo siento, tengo que trabajar, I have to work, or, I'm sick, lo siento, estoy enferma, or yo estoy un poco cansada, I'm a little tired. And so we let people down pretty gently.